CALPADS Error Resolution CERT138. Missing student enrollment exit reason for student with disabilities dropping from program. As always, what is our first step? Our first step should be to consult the CALPADS error list. Here we have a graphic of the CALPADS error list, and the error name and the error number on the far left, these two columns, help you identify your method of resolution and between the error list and the rejected record, right? So if you receive a CERT 138 when you're looking at your certification details, you go to the error list, you find CERT 138, and you can see that it has the same name as the error that's presented on the certification detail screen. The error description tells you what your problem is. So for the CERT 138, the problem is a record is missing student enrollment exit reason for a student with a disability dropping from program. So the student's enrollment record doesn't show that the student is a dropout, but the special education program does. The suggested resolution has two sections, understanding the error and suggested resolution. Understanding the error tells you what the CALPADS expectation is. So for the CERT 138, the expectation is that when a student exits the special education program because they have dropped out, the student must have a SENR record or student enrollment record showing that they left public high school because of a exit or completion reason. And it's not worded here, but you can see from the list of codes, these are all dropouts. If you say a student is a dropout in the special education program record, it is expected that your student exit reason code or student exit reason code and completion status also indicate that the student is a dropout. Okay? And then the suggested resolution is just that. These are suggestions for resolution. It really is dependent on you knowing your data and implementing the correct suggested resolution or a different solution altogether. So then the last column we're going to talk about is the fields validated. These show you where you're going to find your discrepancies. It also helps you identify when you have multiple records, you identify corresponding records for comparison. And so in the case of the CERT 138, we have a SPED record that must correspond with the period of enrollment. So there's going to correspond with an enrollment record. And so to identify the corresponding records, we have the reporting LEA, we have an enrollment exit date and exit reason, right? And so we can use the period of enrollment determined from the SENR record to match with the special education record. And then we find the discrepancy in these different fields. Since we're talking about exits, we have the enrollment exit reason and completion status compared to the special education program exit reason code. So the error list is going to come in key. We just talked about how we're going to use it. We'll demonstrate how it was used during the online demo. So one thing we want to make sure is we understand when we should be exiting a special education student from the program, right? The special education exit reason and date represents that a student exited the special education program and is no longer receiving services. In other words, the student is either ineligible or through some means voluntarily ended services, okay? These fields should be left blank if the student is still receiving special education services. Exits should not be submitted for students transitioning from Part C to Part B for school matriculations. An exit from a special education program does not necessarily occur when the student exits school. Only the following types of school exits would automatically mean an exit from the special education program: high school completion, a confirmed high school dropout, or if the student died. However, these reasons should be reported in the CALPADS enrollment file and not the SPED. There are a planned removal of these codes from the code set. So although these three reasons can be submitted as a program exit reason in the 1920 year, going forward, do not anticipate this. As a matter of practice, it's best if you follow the CDE's advice and report these reasons in the student enrollment record and not the SPED. So what are the valid special ed exit reason codes? And this is as of the 1920 year. You have code 70, no longer eligible, 71, high school completer, 73, max age, 74, dropout, 77, died, 78, withdrawal, and 84, parental consent. We are focusing on 74, dropout, because we triggered our error because we used the student dropped out of the special education program code. As a matter of resolving the CERT138 error, Flash 166 provides advice on special education program exits. It says, in part, this is an excerpt, if the student cannot be located and is determined that the student has dropped out, then the LEA should submit to CALPADS SENR updated code with E140, no known enrollment truant. However, the special education program exit reason should not reflect code 74, dropout. Students with individualized education plans, IEPs, remain eligible for special education until they graduate with a regular high school diploma. So what this is telling me is that if you have a student who has left school and you have confirmed that they have no subsequent enrollment, right? You follow the SAR process at your LEA, you should appropriately exit that student with the dropout code, possibly the E140. However, because that student is not enrolled does not necessarily mean they are no longer eligible for services. Hence, you should not end their services by exiting it. And that's why you are discouraged from using code 74 as a special education program exit code. There is further information in the CALPADS CFS. We know that the special education exit date represents why a student left the special education program and is no longer receiving services. An exit from the special education program does not necessarily occur when a student exits school, and that the special education program exit reason is not a required field. You can submit these records without populating this field at all. So unless your student is no longer eligible for services, simply do not populate the special education exit reason or special education exit date. To resolve the CERT138, delete your special education record with the exit reason and date populated, and you can submit a new record without it from your special education data systems. That is probably the easiest method of resolution. Before we get to the demonstration, this is not a required field. It did not need to be populated. However, to update special education records or students with disability records in CALPADS, you have to first delete them from CALPADS, then submit replacement records from your special education systems. And so now let's look at a demonstration of how one would resolve a CERT138 error. So let's look at how to resolve a CERT138 error. So again, the first thing you always want to do is consult the CALPADS error list. So that's what we have here. And CERT138, missing a student enrollment exit reason for a student with disabilities dropping from a program. So just in the name, we know that we've exited a student with disability with a dropout code because they were saying dropping from a program, right? So our special education exit reason suggests that the student is a dropout. The error description, missing student enrollment exit reason. So the enrollment exit reason is in the enrollment record, not the special ed record, right? For students with disability dropping from the program. So essentially from the description in the name, we know we are comparing the student's enrollment exit reason with the student's special ed program exit reason. So as always, we want to consult the fields validated when we're looking at the record. And this is a CERT error, so we're looking at the CALPADS ODS, and we're comparing the student's SENR record to the SPED record, right? We've said that. And these are the fields being validated: reporting LEA, SSID, enrollment exit date, student exit reason code, and completion status. In the SPED record, it's the SSID, reporting LEA, and special education program exit reason code. So to give us further clarification, we see that when a student exits the special education program because they've dropped out, so the special education program exit codes indicates they dropped out, the student must have a SENR record showing that they left public high school because of a reason, a completion reason, right? And so if you see, these are all dropout codes, right? All of these codes would indicate the student has finished school. So either it's going to be E230-360, right? Completed without all the requirements, completed high school or grade 12 without all the requirements. A E140, no known enrollment, a truant. A E300, expelled, known enrollment. A E400, other or unknown, we don't know where the student went. T380, transferred to another institution where there's no high school program. Okay, so there's one thing to know. Anytime you're going to exit a student with the dropout code in the enrollment record, you want to do your due diligence to ensure that the student doesn't show up enrolled somewhere else. We do not want to indicate a student is a dropout when they have a subsequent enrollment in CALPADS. And so if you're the special education coordinator, if you're going to indicate a student has left the special education program as a dropout, you want to talk to your registrars, you want to talk to your SIS data coordinator, because you have to make sure that on the enrollment side, it has been verified that in fact the student is dropping out. And then those two codes, the enrollment exit reason and then the special education program exit reason, can indicate that they're dropout. All right, and so let's look at the record for the student. And we can see that the student has an enrollment of a T160. So this is your standard transferred exit reason code, right? So the registrar, the enrollment, the SIS data coordinator have the impression that this student is expected to transfer to another school. That's what a T160 means. Now we're going to look at the special education record. We cannot see the exit reason here. It's abbreviated, right? We can tell that this record doesn't have an exit reason. So let's look at one of the, we see an exit date. So I'm gonna pick this record. I could pick any of these three, but I'm gonna pick this record to see what that is. And so we just want to preserve the student's personal information. So I went ahead and scrolled real quickly. And so here we can focus on the special education program exit date and then the special education program exit reason. So you can see here that we have said the student is a dropout, and that does not work because we do not have a corresponding enrollment exit reason saying that the student is a dropout as well. And so again, a corresponding exit reason or completion status would be E230-360, E140, E300, E400, T380. So if we look at the suggested resolution, one could be verify the special education program exit reason code is correct. Verify that the student exit reason code and student school completion status are correct. So either we need to change the special education program exit reason or change the enrollment exit reason or verify the dates, right? So Because this code is 74, we have another reference, right? And so here we go. This is flash 166, and in the middle we have some verbiage, right? And then it says, currently when a student exits school as a dropout, some LEAs are populating 1449, which is a special education program exit reason code with 74 dropout. Code 74 dropout should never be used as a special education program exit reason code because it causes issues when a student subsequently enrolls in another LEA, and that LEA attempts to submit SPED records. The CDE plans to retire code 74. However, in the meantime, special education data coordinators should not use special education code 74. So although it's a valid code, there has been guidance since December 6, 2019 that that code should not be used. So that's just an example of a discrepancy because this code was used, right? So what are the alternatives? Well, if we go to the CALPADS code set, I just drug that into the screen, you can see there are several alternatives. So since the student was exit with a T160 transferred, maybe the code you want to use. In place of 74, you want to go to 76, right? So you have your different codes, right? If the student were to age out, max age would be a code. So you want to consult the error list and find an alternative, or confer with your SIS data coordinator and have them update the exit reason. So that's CERT 138.